This is Neutral Ice.
I talked to him last summer, talked about an extension last summer. Both basically agreed that in September, we talked about window of opportunity. We thought it was important for our team to try to make the playoffs and go on a playoff run. We wanted all our energies and focus on the team. And whenever the media asked either of us about his status or his situation, we had no comment. Now that the season's over, obviously we both understand that a decision has to be made, and we'll start the process early next week.
Buffalo's best hockey show every Monday night.
We talked about it once, and then we haven't talked about it at all. In the next 10 days, we're going to talk about it. As I talked to my wife yesterday morning for the first time, and everyone thinks Ken Holland's the boss. Actually, my wife's the boss. And that conversation didn't go very well. It didn't last that long. So I imagine over the next while we'll have some conversations about this and decide what we're going to do. But what I find every year is after losing or after winning, you take some time away, you clear your head, and then you make good decisions based on what's right for you and your family and the situation you're in.
Babcock met with the Sabres. As long as he's comfortable with ownership and the general manager, man, the Sabres can go term, they can go money, and if Detroit's going to walk, money and term is not a problem for the Buffalo Sabres. If it comes down to the Sabres in Detroit and he's comfortable working here, well, you just give him the big term, the big contract, and the Red Wings go, that's fine, we're going to use our guy at Grand Rapids as our next head coach.
Detroit might be hockey town, or maybe it has been, but get ready to give that title up because we're coming for every single piece of hockey thing you would want, from the Frozen Four to World Juniors, and mix in the pursuit of a Stanley Cup, obviously, as the ultimate prize in becoming that hockey heaven, hockey town, whatever you want to be.
Guess it's true we weren't good this past hockey year, but we still need a coach that is deemed premier. To win the Stanley Cup is our dream. I don't want you to leave, will you coach my team? Oh, Babcock, coach this team. The Sabres need your scheme. This ain't ideal, I know it seems, but Babcock, coach this team.
Now, here are your hosts, Nick Lippa and Jack Sullivan, on Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM, WBNY.
Welcome to 91.3 FM. This is Neutral Ice. You're listening to us on, obviously, WBNY here in Studio A. I'm Chris Kowalchuk. I'm here along with Brayton Wilson. Brayton.
Hi.
How you doing, Brayton?
Okay.
And in Studio B, we have Derek Kramer. Derek.
Hi.
And Frank R. Curry.
Hi.
You guys are making conversation really nicely.
Yes.
So we're going to open up today's show with, you could already tell, Mike Babcock visited with the Buffalo Sabres yesterday. And there's obviously...
Brayton, masterfully done, by the way.
There's obviously potential of Babcock coming to Buffalo. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think he's obviously the best choice out there.
Am I hearing something in the background?
Yeah, you're hearing Bab Watch. It's the Bab Watch alert.
I'm just making sure I'm not going crazy.
Oh, well, you went crazy a long time ago.
Oh, that's debatable.
We've all gone crazy here in Buffalo.
That's
I mean,
really
you're
true.
lucky. You're lucky that you have your Detroit Devils with 3 Stanley Cups. And
My Detroit Devils.
did I just say Detroit Devils? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
Yes,
So,
you did.
yeah, again, going back to my point, we
And
have
yeah, I'm
all
the
gone
crazy
crazy here in Buffalo, and you with your New Jersey Devils have 3 Stanley Cups. My apologies.
I don't really need apologies.
That made for
winning
good
Stanley
radio.
Cups.
Don't apologize.
But I'm looking at something from the Detroit Free Press. It says reports indicate that he's already talked to Toronto and Buffalo about their head coaching positions, which is not really news to anybody considering this is over 24 hours old. The Oilers, Philly, San Jose, and Jersey are also conducting coaching searches. So there are a lot of teams on the market. What do you guys think? Where do you think he goes? Derek, we'll start with you.
I mean, if he's really looking for a new place to go, a new place to coach, and like the bit with Jeremy White there saying, and Howard Simon saying that if he is comfortable in Buffalo, the Sabres lock him up, no problem. It's easy. But it all depends on if he feels like this team can contend within the next 2 years.
I have a question. How do Brayton? This is probably more for you.
Okay.
How does coaching, like paying him, count against your salary?
No.
It doesn't count against the cap, right?
No.
So you just pay him whatever you want?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact is that Buffalo has quite the plethora of money, especially with the Pikulas owning the Buffalo Sabres. From what I've heard, and from what a lot of other people have heard as well, is that the Red Wings and some other teams aren't willing to pay Babcock more than $5 million. So
Per year?
Yeah, per year. So, and I think Babcock wants somewhere in the range of 7 to 10 years as with the contract at $5 million per year. Buffalo's got the money. They've got the money. They've got probably more money than most other teams do in the NHL that are willing to pay a coach like Mike Babcock. Because we could probably argue this here that Mike Babcock is the best coach in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Along with probably
I
like a
can agree
Joel
with that.
Quenneville and maybe even a Daryl Sutter, although he didn't make the playoffs this year. But still, the fact is Mike Babcock is the best coach out there. He's a free agent. He's up for grabs. And if a team makes an offer for Babcock, Terry Pegula can just swoop in and just say, "Hey, Mike, I heard that Philadelphia is offering you 8 years for $5 million per year. How about you want to coach 9 years for $6.5 million per year?"
I also heard, this is probably, I heard that the Devils have like money to throw around at a potential head coach. I don't see Babcock going to Jersey though.
Who do you want? Because there's been a lot of names that have been floating around, especially like Scott Stevens, Adam Oates. Who's on your list there? Your top of your list there, Chris?
For New Jersey, I think that this might be kind of a long shot, but potentially Ken Hitchcock if he leaves St. Louis.
Which there's a possibility he'll leave St. Louis. That's there's no doubt about that.
Right. I'm hearing a lot of Dan Bilesma, and that's because of the Ray Sherrill hiring, and they got fired together basically. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was Stevens. I want Stevens to stay inside the organization. He needs to stay on the bench because right after Peter DeBoer left, that's when Adam Larson really started to develop. Right after they implemented the 3 coaching system, which I really didn't like a lot, but that's when Larson started to develop. And hopefully, if Stevens stays along, the rest of the defensemen continue to develop with him. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
where I'm at with that, at least.
I think it absolutely makes sense that the Devils would want to try and keep Scott Stevens because he's been in the organization pretty much since he retired from this league, and he was on the bench with Adam Oates and Lou Lamoriello at the end of the season this past year. So I think to keep either Oates or Stevens would be a positive. But if you can get a guy like a Dan Bilesma or some coach that is experienced in this league with multiple years of experience, that would help as well. Another name that I have been hearing that is Kevin Dineen. A lot of people have been bringing up Kevin Dineen lately for a head coaching spot. He took this year off. He was previously the coach of the Florida Panthers. He got fired from the Panthers. He did coach the Canadian women's team. I believe he coached them to the gold medal last year. If I'm in the Olympics, yes. I think I'm correct there when I say that. But yeah, Kevin Dineen's name has been picked up a lot lately. I've heard rumors that he's popular in Philadelphia. His dad did play in Philadelphia. I think he played in Philadelphia too. So the coaching search is going to heat up for sure, not only with the Buffalo Sabres organization, but really with every organization now that the season is starting to come to an end. Once Babcock, once he gets hired, I bet that the dominoes are just going to keep falling and falling.
Totally agreed. Oh, guys in Studio B, what do you think? Where do you think Babcock lands? Frank, I haven't really heard from you yet.
I don't know exactly where Babcock is going to go. Obviously, I want him to come to Buffalo, but it really all depends on how Detroit handles everything. Because I do agree. I think he's gonna get somewhere between like maybe $5 million. He might even get $6 million.
Yeah, he's gonna get top dollar.
Yeah,
and he's gonna get a long-term contract.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna be the highest paid coach in the NHL. It really is just a matter of how much money Detroit's willing to pay. Because I think Babcock for right now wants to stay in Detroit, but if they can't come to an agreement on the dollars, then he's gonna start looking elsewhere. We know obviously he has been talking to other teams. Like he was just in Buffalo over the weekend, and he was talking with Terry Pegula and Tim Murray. But that's probably just saying, okay, what do you plan on doing, Mike, and what are your future plans? And
Yeah, it was a first meeting.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a first meeting. But I think Buffalo is definitely like one of the top destinations.
And I think we have a caller. Brayton, do we have a caller?
We do have a caller.
Ooh.
Lars, are you there?
Yeah, it's me.
Hey, Lars is here. What's happening, Lars?
I'm doing just fine out here in beautiful, sunny Southern California.
What's the temperature out there right now?
I'm looking at about 78 degrees.
Are we beating that?
I think we might be beating you in that, Lars. It's a little warmer here.
Right now it's 73.
73. Okay, well, earlier it was like 79.
80.
Yeah.
I think it went to 80 today.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, there is a 3-hour difference between me and you. With what's 8 o'clock here, it's 5 o'clock here.
Very true. Very true. Well, Lars, it's great to talk to you again. What was it that you wanted to say about the playoffs here?
Well, being in the city that just won a playoff series just last night in the pond in Anaheim, I have to say that the Ducks, after the debacle that happened in Game 4, they blew the lead and Gaudreau scored to force overtime, and they had a delayed call. They lost in Game 4. This had all the makings of a trap, because what we saw what happened in Game 4 was a meltdown. And we're thinking of Game 5. Normally the Ducks, when they go back at home, over the last couple of years, it's been pretty dicey whenever they're trying to close out a series. However, we have to make sure that we're going to put Corey Perry as a nominee for the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Corey Perry has had a fantastic playoffs so far this year. I mean, yesterday he got that knee-on-knee collision with Matt Stajan that looked like he was going to be done, tore ACL or something like that, out for the rest of the playoffs. But no, he comes right back a couple of shifts later, and later on scores the overtime goal. I mean, Corey Perry, I agree with you, Lars. His name is right up there at the top of the list for candidates for the Conn Smythe this year.
Yeah, when I watched that when he got hurt, I instantly started having flashbacks to what happened to Korea when Scott Stevens buried him in the final Game 6. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy's been the best player in this team all playoffs long, and now that he's out, I mean, it's going to be all on Getzlaf now, and
Kessler.
They're thinking, oh no, like this team when they started off in the playoffs against Winnipeg, and how they took care of them, we're thinking this team, combined with the 3 wins against Calgary, this team looks like they're the ones to beat. It's not Montreal, it's not Tampa Bay, it's not the Rangers. This team has steamrolled everyone that has come in front of them.
Another player besides Corey Perry that's looked absolutely incredible this series is Matt Bolesky, who's got, 5 goals in 5 consecutive games? I mean, he scored a goal in every game in the Calgary series. And not only that, but he was really, really a factor in the Winnipeg series. His name could be a Conn Smythe candidate for sure as well.
Yeah, and matter of fact, it's funny you mention him because he has had a contract. He's in a contract year this year, and he's had career best in goals and points, and he's been incredible this season. This is the first time he's ever cracked 20 goals, I believe, in a season.
Yeah,
and look at how he's playing in the postseason. This guy is playing for a contract, and I'm pretty sure with Anaheim, with the amount of cap flexibility that they have, if they wish, they should keep him because I understand that for the most part he's a third-line option, but you get that kind of production out of him year in and year out. He's the guy that's not going to cost very much. Why would he leave Southern California? You'd be an idiot to leave Southern California. And why would you want to leave a team that's built the way Anaheim's been built, and you can still have weapons to get more?
Lars, how do you think this series is going to shake out with Chicago? Are you worried about them?
This has all the makings of a super fight. You want Kane and Perry? That's a standoff. Getzlaf and Taves, standoff. The number one factor that's going to go into that series is very simple. Freddie against Crawford. Whoever's the better out of the two wins the series, plain and simple.
I totally agree with that. Have you been to a game yet, a playoff game?
If the tickets weren't $275, I would.
Yikes.
Dear God, I felt like the box office tickets at Honda Center, well, I still call it the Pond, being a...
It'll always be known as the Pond.
Yeah, it's always the Pond. There's no cooler name ever for an arena than the NHL, the Pond.
Oh, of course.
But anyway, I checked out prices at the box office. I was looking at StubHub, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I mean, geez, I thought Sabres tickets were expensive when they were like at least good. But this is ridiculous. I mean, no wonder. It was one of the first things that really hit me about moving to Southern California is how much more expensive everything else is, including hockey tickets.
Lars, for this series with Chicago, who on Anaheim has to play better going into the series? Who do you believe has to play better?
It's really tough to say because it seems like this whole team as a unit has been nothing short of remarkable. But it's not just one guy in particular I'm looking at; it's two, and I think it's coming along the blue line with Vatanen and Stoner. Stoner has played very aggressive. He's played well for the most part throughout the playoffs, but there's been quite a few times where him and Vatanen have blown assignments. They've allowed odd man rushes. I mean, you look at the first round against Winnipeg. I saw a lot of 2-on-1s throughout that entire series, sometimes even 3-on-1s, because they can't keep the puck within the blue line. It's the one thing I just look for is the defense itself just needs to improve a little bit. Now, I understand that Anderson hasn't faced as many shots as people would think. It's just the quality of the chances that the other teams are getting that, to me, I think is becoming a bit of a problem with Anaheim, because you're not going to score 4 goals every night. There's going to be a tight game where it's going to be like 1-0 or 2-1, and that errant odd man that gets away from the blue line is going to happen, which could end up you losing a game.
Is it fair to say that you think that whoever wins this series will probably go into the Stanley Cup Finals as the favorite to win it all?
I think everything depends on matchups. I believe whoever comes out of the East, the biggest challenge for Anaheim, if they get by Chicago and get to the final, I think it would have to be. This is so tough because the Capitals have played very well throughout this series. I still think the Rangers are the best team out of the 4, but I think the one team that could trip up Anaheim more than anyone is Tampa. For one specific reason.
What's
Tampa can score at will just the same as Anaheim can.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
It would make a very exciting Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, but the fact...
And it's different, too. It's
Yeah.
not the same Chicago, L.A., even the Rangers the last few years have been around. It's different. It would be good for the NHL.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, I think with the Eastern Conference, even though Montreal's won twice, I think Tampa closes it out tomorrow night. I think they're too strong. And obviously, Montreal's too good of a team to get swept, so we had a feeling they were going to win 1 or 2. But Bishop has played fantastic throughout the playoffs. And I think if I'm Anaheim, if you can get by Chicago, I wouldn't want to play Tampa because that is a very underrated building for Tampa to play in. It's really tough to win inside there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just as long as Ben Bishop can stay consistent, because boy, oh boy, he has been showing off his problems lately, and Tampa Bay cannot afford to have Ben Bishop faltering this late in the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one thing that's always had a knock on Bishop is that he's so big that sometimes he has a really tough time getting down on low shots. And more or less, that could be an advantage for Anaheim if they make the final because a lot of their goals come from either tip shots from the coming in from the point or pretty much the low hummers that Vatanen shoots or Beauchemin shoots. But those are tough shots to take. Those are tough shots to stop if you're Bishop because you're that big. It's really difficult to get down and make a pass save. And sometimes he is prone to give up a juicy rebound, just the fact that he's so big that he might not have the same kind of control to put a puck along the boards instead of giving the opposing player a chance out front.
Now, Lars, you are a Buffalo native living in Anaheim, and now Mike Babcock is a free agent. We were just talking about this on the show if you were listening in. Mike Babcock is officially getting permission to speak to other teams about their coaching vacancies. What team do you feel like has the best odds of getting Mike Babcock?
Well, I can definitely give you the odds of teams that have no chance of getting in. I can make that a little easier because I know that a bit more than I would of teams that can't. If I'm Mike Babcock, if I'm in his head, where is the last place I want to go to?
Edmonton.
I want you guys to see it. I want you guys to figure out. What would be the last team on his list of the candidates that he would go to?
For the Devils!
No, he wants to go to the Devils. I need him.
You're getting Bilesma.
I don't want it's like
No, you're getting Bilesma.
Getting Bilesman,
And
it's
you're
okay.
gonna like it. You're getting Dan Bilesma, and you're gonna like it.
But to answer that question, Lars, my guess is Edmonton. That's the last place he'd want to go, even with Connor McDavid going there.
Yeah.
Same with you, Frank?
I would have to agree, Edmonton.
I just don't know why anybody would want to go to Edmonton. It's just cold and sad.
Sad.
Barren.
It is.
Would you want me to get Chappie on the phone?
Don't worry, I'll be talking to
God.
Chappie within the hour, so I'll let him
Chappie,
know.
if you're listening out there, feel free to give us a call and we'll have a nice little chat.
Yeah, you can.
Give him hell, Chappie. I know he can.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think everybody here knows that Chappie can hold his ground when it comes to talking the Edmonton Oilers. So.
Okay, so Braden says Edmonton, Frank says Edmonton. Who else is in there?
Derek Kramer, I don't believe we have met, Lars.
Oh, hi there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think Edmonton, like I said, I think Edmonton's just like a sad place.
Well, I see that you all have some very, very, very good answers, and I have to say that I would agree for the most part. But in the iconic words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
Ooh.
There's one city that if I'm Mike Babcock, I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Would it be Detroit with...
All right, what is it?
What is it?
Toronto.
Makes sense.
I don't think anybody even I don't think Toronto crossed anybody else's mind.
You know what? It's a very good point. The media pressure,
Yeah.
and it's a place like no other, and the roster is going to get gutted at the draft.
That roster is an absolute mess.
Phaneuf likely
Salary
is
cap's
going
a
to
mess.
get moved.
The
Kessel
management's a mess.
might get moved.
Fan base is getting more and more irate each and every year.
Yeah.
It's like you said, the most important factor of it all, that was the number one reason why I said that Toronto would be the last place, is what you said, the media. A guy like Mike Babcock has long been considered the best coach in the NHL. If you have a guy with that kind of prestige, that kind of success, the second he steps foot in Toronto, if he becomes the head coach of the league, the expectations are already high. And you have 12 newspapers, you have dozens of radio stations, television stations, online publications, what have you. They will be watching your every move.
And not even Mike Babcock could right a ship like that right now.
Not even Mike Babcock could fix the laughs.
Absolutely not. The fact is that there's three teams, in my opinion, that I think Mike Babcock fits best for. Is number one, Buffalo, because of the fact that, we may be another year from winning and maybe contending for a playoff spot, but we've got a deep prospect pool. We've got a generational player that we're going to draft number 2 in the NHL draft.
Yep.
And the only thing we have an owner and a general manager who are passionate about this team and who want to win. That's the biggest factor. Number 2 is Detroit. Just stay in Detroit. He's already got his family there. He's already got ties with the city of Detroit. He's got
and who's
that.
going to fire him?
What's that?
And who's going to fire him?
Exactly right. And the third best option, in my opinion, is probably Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is a pretty decent team. They've got some really good talent in Claude Giroux, and even, Braden Shen. You got Wayne Simmons. You got a plethora of Voracek as well. You got a plethora of talent there.
You also have aging defenseman and a fair at best goalie.
Yeah.
But
I can also say that Craig Berube has not helped either, at least in terms of coaching aspect. There's a lot of talent, like you said, in Philadelphia, but if Mike Babcock goes to Philly, that's a completely different team.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Philly would be a much better team, even with the kind of defenseman they got.
I think you should just go up the turnpike a little bit.
Now,
there's one issue issue, however, with Buffalo, with Babcock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Babcock wants control. Is Tim Murray going to be willing to give some of that up?
Yeah. That is, well,
I don't know.
However, let's think about Tim Murray for a second.
Yeah, I think Lars is on something here. He's on to something.
Mike Babcock wants to have a say in terms of who he wants on his team. The last 2 years, Tim Murray has led a crusade in Buffalo of completely gutting the roster and have everything in his control. Why do you think he strong-armed LaFontaine out? So think about that. I understand Mike Babcock is the best coach in the league, and I know Tim understands that too. However, we know how Tim operates, and we know how Babcock operates. Those two guys, as talented as they are, they've got egos.
absolutely.
That's the problem.
There's no denying
Absolutely.
that. There's no denying that. But the thing is that what might make that connection so good is that both guys, Babcock and Murray, are the type of personalities where they're just going to tell you something straightforward. They're not going to try and cut corners or try and go around a wall or something like that, like Darcy Regier would do and some of the other coaches that we've had. Both guys are literally just going to be straightforward with you. So if they're straightforward with one another, that might benefit them. Or else, I mean, it could also not benefit them because they might butt heads. But again, the fact is that both guys are very similar, and I think that would be perfect for especially what Buffalo's looking to do coming up and down the road.
Actually, Brayton, to further elaborate on that a little bit, every GM is a little more generous with their hires, and Babcock would be a Murray hire. Nolan was there before Murray was there, therefore he was going to strong arm for control and power because he wants his plan. If Babcock is part of his plan, that very well may require Murray to relinquish some power to Babcock because he knows what he's getting.
And Murray has done nothing but what is the best thing for this roster, and if that's turning it over to Babcock, I'm sure he would do it.
Absolutely.
You don't just lose every game. You don't lose games on purpose to not get better.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look at the Sabres, and there has never been a more important coaching hire than right now. Because you're getting the number 2 pick, you're getting Jack Eichel, you got Ryan Hart last year, you have a plethora of talent that's currently growing in Rochester and in Buffalo, as we saw for the most part the last 2 years. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty important for Murray to make the right decision if he does insist on Karuba collision. Now, nobody got that?
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that fell flat. Thank you.
Thank you, Brayton.
So let's stray away from Babcock. What about McClellan and Richardson? Do you think that those two would still play a role even if Babcock displays some interest in coming to Buffalo?
From all indications that I'm hearing is that Todd McClellan is the front runner to earn the Edmonton Oilers job because Edmonton has already interviewed McClellan over in the Czech Republic for the World Championships. Not only that, but I mean, Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle in my opinion, have the biggest influence on this because they're two faces of a franchise, and they're probably telling Edmonton management, hey, this guy is coaching Canada and we're playing really well. I like how he's coaching this team, and yeah, I think that McClellan is the front runner for Edmonton. If Edmonton decides to pass, then absolutely, yeah, Buffalo should be calling in Tom McClellan and saying, hey, we want to interview you for a job. Luke Richardson, I think from what I've heard as well, is that he wants to, that Tim Murray may want to bring him onto his staff or just part of the organization, whether it's coaching in the AHL with Rochester or being an assistant coach to whoever's coaching in Buffalo, whether it be Mike Babcock or what have you. But the fact is that there's definitely a lot of other guys that should be mentioned for this job, and I think that Lars, I think that all three of those guys Babcock, McClellan, and Richardson are still up for grabs.
I have a quick update on the Erie Oshawa game. Erie's leading 2-0 in the second. Ellie scored. McDavid had an assist on that, and DeBrincat had the second goal for Erie. It's 2-0.
Well, congratulations.
You're welcome.
It really does burn my waffles that Buffalo lost the lottery.
Oh,
I think it burned a lot of people's waffles here
And my
in
toast.
Buffalo. But the fact is that Jack. I think the fact of the matter is that Jack Eichel, the gap between Eichel and McDavid really is not that big, and here's why: because they're two different style of players. They're both good. They're both going to be franchise-changing players, generational players. I guarantee it. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, these two players play a totally different style of game, and they both use it to their advantage. McDavid, he's a swift skater. He's shifty. He's very quick. Where Eichel, he's just powerful. He can force guys with his body, and you know the first two strides are just explosive. It's unbelievable how them two differ. One of the things that Eichel has over McDavid is that Eichel's shot is elite. Incredible. He's got a great.
He's got a bomb.
It's a bomb.
Yeah.
It is a bomb.
I mean, they put at Boston University, they put him at the point because his shot was just so good.
Yeah.
And I think that was one huge reason why he was
18 years old.
Yeah, at 18 years old. And, of course, winning the Hobey Baker, that's saying something as a freshman, being the only one to do it besides Paul Correa.
And what he's doing in the World Championships.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing great.
He's playing against
And
pros
he's playing
in the World
with
Championships.
pros.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's standing out amongst everyone.
He's doing what McDavid isn't.
Yeah.
He's getting that experience right now.
The fact of the matter, though, is that what's benefiting McDavid right now is that he's basically carrying Erie through the OHL playoffs.
Well, they're down 2-0 in the series, correct?
They're down 2-0 in the series. He did not have a good game 1 or 2. I think he only has 1 assist, and he was a -4 in the first 2 games. But the fact is, this season, those 2 games was the first time all year that the Erie Otters lost 2 regulation games. First time all year they lost 2 straight regulation games.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And what Connor McDavid is doing with Erie, not only this season but in the playoffs, is the sole reason, and also what he did in the World Junior Championships with Canada. But, I mean, that is really the sole reason why people are the hype is all about McDavid and, you know, not so much hype about Eichel. But Eichel's doing some phenomenal things that should get more notice than McDavid. But, of course, the Canada media is just completely blowing McDavid up, like just blowing his face on every billboard in Canada.
Well, yeah, this guy is going to be one of the prodigal sons of that country. A lot of people are going to say that he is going to be at the equivalent of what Crosby and, dare I say, even Gretzky in terms of like star power in Canada.
I can agree to that.
Oh yeah.
The star power, yes, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, if you're Buffalo, and I'm going to speak in terms of the Buffalo Sabres fans, getting Jack Eichel is probably the best thing for Sabres fans. I know we all know how Sabres fans think. So let's break down 3 things that Sabres fans will love about Eichel. Number 1, he's from the United States.
Yep.
It's a very important thing I've found out in all the years I've been in Buffalo.
He's from the
is
Northeast.
that they take pride in their American players.
You do.
Number 2, he's big. Buffalonians like tough players. Eichel's one of them.
Yeah.
And number 3, talent. Those 3 things are what Buffalo fans look for in players, and Eichel has all 3 of those.
I agree. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, with Eichel, he may not have the hands that Connor McDavid has. I mean, McDavid's hands are just silky smooth. I mean, you see him warming up, and it's just how in the heck do his wrists move like that, and how in the heck can he puck handle like that? But the fact is that Eichel, he's just powerful. He's just big, physical with the puck. He's not afraid to, get dirty with the puck. He knows, I mean, what's incredible is that he can be blazing fast and powerful with his speed, but then when it's on the power play, he can slow it down to almost a snail pace on the power play, just moving the puck. It's incredible.
Patient.
Would you say that Eichel, given his stature, is more NHL ready right now than Connor McDavid?
Oh, absolutely.
I think so.
I think he's more NHL ready, but then again, I've said, I think numerous times on this show, give McDavid 10 to 20 games.
Yep.
Give him 10 to 20 games to just adjust to that style of play, and I think that McDavid will play just as well as Eichel will in the NHL in the rookie year.
Yes. The other thing is that when it comes to, what type of players these guys are, Jack Eichel is a different player than Sam Reinhart, your top prospect. if it was McDavid, you'd have two similar centers at 1 and 2. Now you could play two different kinds of games with two different kinds of lines with Reinhart and Eichel.
Yeah, because Sam Reinhart is more of the
playmaking,
more offense-oriented player. Then you're getting a Jack Eichel who's more well-rounded.
Lars,
yeah,
what
you
do
don't
you
want? I think you don't want what happened with Edmonton when you signed all those playmakers like Nugent Hopkins and Taylor Hall. You didn't really get a bruiser.
Yeah.
Eichel's going to be that bruiser. And if I look at Eichel, I see the way he plays. Now, this is going to be a rather interesting comparison. When you look at him play, and you look at his size, and you look at his shot, he kind of resembles a cross of three different players. Number one, at least in terms of hands and dexterity, it reminds me of Joe Thornton. It's not exactly the greatest hands in the world, but they're so coordinated that when he does make a move and when he does move the puck while he's stick handling, it's very effective. Number two, another player that plays a lot like him is Milan Lucic. He's a guy who's not afraid to get to the middle, get into the paint, and fire it through. He's not afraid to get in front of the goaltender to set a screen. And like Milan, he's got a hard shot, and he's not afraid to hit a guy. And the third one is a rather interesting one because I think that this guy was long forgotten, I believe. But in the 90s, he stood 6'7". He weighed about 230 or 240 plus pounds. And this guy for Chicago was an absolute monster who had size, soft hands, and just like Eichel, a hell of a shot. You ever heard of a man named Eric Daze?
Yes.
Watch some of him and then look at Eichel. They look almost exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The only reason why Daze got cut short is because he had two horrible knees, and that's unfortunately kind of way his career.
Yep.
Had he not had bad knees, that guy would have been a Hall of Famer easy.
Lars,
If you put those three guys together, that's what Jack Eichel is.
Lars, would you like to hold on and stay with us through this break real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a very quick break here, but when we come back, we will touch base on what's going on at the World Juniors. Not only that, but we will give an update on what's going on with the Erie Otters and also some potential draft news coming up. So don't go away. We will be right back right here on Neutral Ice.
Guess it's true we weren't good this past hockey year, but we still need a coach that is deemed premier. To win the Stanley Cup is our dream. I don't want you to leave, will you coach my team? Oh, Babcock coaches this team. The Sabres need your scheme. This ain't ideal, I know it seems, but Babcock coach this team.
You are listening to 91.3 FM WBNY here in Buffalo. Here on Neutral Ice tonight is it's Derek Kramer, Frank R. Curry, Brayton Wilson, and very special guest over the phone is Lars Lewis.
I tell you, it's really glad to be able to hear from you guys again. And Frank knows that in about 2.5 weeks, I'm actually flying back home.
Yay! If I turned on my microphone, he would have heard my yay even better. So yay!
I heard it.
Okay, good.
So we're gonna quickly update you on Erie again. Erie's still leading 2-0 in the second. I don't know how much time is left. It doesn't say. But they're leading 2-0 in the second, down 2-1 in the series. So it's a must-win for Erie tonight.
Game 3 is going on right now. Game 4 is on Wednesday night in Erie, just to let everybody know. So if you want to go see Connor McDavid maybe play one last time in the OHL, depending on how everything works out in their series, Wednesday night would probably be a good night to go down. Opening face-off is at 7:35 from the Erie Insurance Arena.
Yeah, I've been there. It's a nice place to see.
It is really a nice place. It's different. It's different from like an NHL setting, where an NHL setting it's a bigger arena, whereas the OHL it's just a little smaller. I mean, it's nice, though. It's a beautiful, beautiful arena down there, and they do a really nice job keeping up with that place and doing what they do.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to talk a little IIHF World Championships. The U.S. is, 5-1 now?
Yes.
Yeah,
4-1.
4-1.
They got one more game before they head to the quarterfinals, and they've already clinched a spot in the quarters.
Yeah, so the U.S. has been very good. Brayton, talk to me about how Jack Eichel's been.
Jack Eichel has really stood out amongst everybody there. That his line of him, Brock Nelson, and Trevor Lewis have been phenomenal. The other day when they beat Slovenia 3-1, they accounted for 7 points in the game. Brock Nelson had 2 goals and an assist because Jack Eichel stole his hat-trick goal on an accidental deflection in front of the net. It was literally just Brock Nelson was shooting it towards the net. He had a wide-open net, and Eichel, I think, was trying to move his stick, and it just nicked his stick and almost hit the crossbar and came out, but anyways, Eichel got the goal. I think he has 4 assists overall in the tournament, if I'm correct. But
1 goal?
1 goal, 4 assists. But, I mean, he's just been phenomenal for Team USA. He's been probably one of their best players on the ice.
Yeah.
And he's playing on the 4th line, too.
Brock Nelson's a 4th liner?
Brock Nelson is a 4th liner in the United States.
Brock Nelson is 2nd in the tournament in points.
Yes.
And
That's insane.
It is.
We called it.
Brock Nelson for the heart.
Yeah,
Brock Nelson for the heart.
Whatever the MVP award at the World Championship is, Brock Nelson for the MVP.
Get that.
Yeah, I still got my money on Yarrow.
Oh God, yeah,
Jágr
Jaromir Jágr. Yeah, he's been really good for the Czech Republic.
Amazing.
I've got a massive man crush on that guy.
Yeah, I think
Really,
we
is this-
Don't we all?
I mean,
who doesn't?
Allow me to bring this up. Is this guy even human? He's 43 years old. He's playing against guys who weren't even alive when he was still playing in the league. And he just makes the game look so effortless. It's amazing. Just when you watch Jaromir Jágr play, he's not even trying out there. That's the greatest thing, but he really is.
Yeah.
He gives you a sneaking suspicion that he's playing lazy. He's not. When you play for as long as he's had, you know where the puck's going before anyone else does. So he just sits there, waits for the puck to come to him, and then just, boom, pots it home.
Yeah. No.
So Jaromir Jágr is the epitome of work smarter, not harder?
Oh, he's been that way his whole career.
Oh, yeah. Jaromir Jágr, no. I mean, for people that think he plays lackadaisical, I mean, that's his style of play. He just is so big with the puck. He's 43 years old, but he's playing like he's a veteran 30-year-old forward. He could play probably until he's 50 years old. He's so physically in shape. He's so good with the puck still at this level. It's unbelievable. You would have to believe that he could carry on almost well into his 50s. I mean, he could be the Julio Franco of the hockey world.
I've heard that. I mean, I had firsthand experience with Jágr for more of the last year and a half, and they would say that after games, even in practices, that he would be on the ice or in the gym until 2-3 o'clock every night. So he's obviously he's something special.
That reminds me of a Buffalo forward that we have right now, because oftentimes I've heard a lot of people say this. Because can anybody guess that forward? I'm sure it could be pretty easy to guess.
Gergensons.
Yes.
I love it. But yeah.
Yeah.
He's a man-child.
But to answer what we were speculating earlier with the scoring leaders in the World Championships, for goals, Brock Nelson is second behind Philip Forsberg, who has 8 goals on the tournament. Brock Nelson has 6, and the leading point scorer is Oliver Ekman-Larsson from Sweden with 11 points.
Dang.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good-looking player.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to hear that name for quite a while.
Yeah, and Ekman-Larsson now, I mean, probably once Shane Doan decides to either retire or he gets traded out of Arizona, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the face of that franchise for years to come, unless next year they happen to win the draft lottery and draft Austin Matthews #1.
Speaking of that.
Yeah, speaking of Matthews, you see the latest news on him?
Yes, that he is possibly going to sign in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Nothing's been confirmed yet, but reports is that there are three options. Obviously, there's three options for Austin Matthews, but the latest one is that he could be signing in the Swiss Hockey League in the Tier 1 of Switzerland, and he could be playing professionally there for his one season before he decides to come to the NHL in the draft. The other two options that have been talked about is playing at Denver University in college hockey, or playing in the Western Hockey League where he was drafted and his rights are with the Everett Silvertips.
What's the best fit for him, Brayton?
I would say college hockey. I would
say college.
The fact of the matter, and everybody says like, oh, well, it shouldn't matter. Well, it kind of does because Switzerland, I mean, okay, let's say this here is that the rink size are different when it comes to European to college hockey and to the NHL.
Yeah.
The Western Hockey League and all the Canadian Hockey League clubs, their rinks are NHL size because it's, they have ties with the NHL. College hockey is a little bit larger than the NHL, but the European rinks and international rinks are just much bigger.
Yeah, if people say they don't matter, clearly they've never skated in an Olympic rink before.
I mean, we saw this with Joel Armia. We thought, oh, wow, Joel Armia, what a skilled player. He's got such soft hands. He came over in the first year with Rochester and was almost a non-factor. And then all of a sudden, in the playoffs the year before, this past year, he came alive, and then this year he was on fire before getting traded to Winnipeg in the Kane deal. But I mean, we see this is that, Austin Matthews, is he going to play right away out of the draft? I think he could. I think absolutely he's got the credentials to play in the NHL right off the bat. He might be a generational type player, except he's just, I think
it could stunt his growth and development.
It could. But I mean, again, the fact is he's playing against professionals in Switzerland. That definitely helps him out. But I think the best way he can boost his stock and draft stock is playing in college like Jack Eichel did.
I feel like some of the best coaching you're going to get is in college, too.
Absolutely.
So that'll also help development if he decides to stay at the University of Denver.
Lars, what are your thoughts?
I'd have to be honest with you guys. I don't really have a great amount of knowledge in terms of college hockey, but in this specific case, I do know the styles between the juniors, of course, the NCAA, and then the Swiss League. Now, don't get me wrong. I think in terms of the national teams, Switzerland has become a bit of a rising star. I think Swiss hockey has come quite a long way in the last 10 years, and they've had some pretty strong showings in the Olympics. However, the leagues in Switzerland are different. And if I'm him, I'd have to agree that the best option would be in the NCAA for college, because you're going to play against bigger guys who have NHL-sized bodies, and also the fact that the NCAA in itself, the talent has gotten much better. And thirdly, you'll be in the United States. You'll be playing in rinks that are very similar to the NHL. And I just don't see why would you go to Europe for a year. I mean, that'd be one thing if you were a European player and you wanted to have 1 year of fine tuning in your country. But it's another thing to go out there on your own volition and play in a league where most of those guys aren't even going to ever see the NHL.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I think another thing about this is that it would just kind of suck if the next best talent coming up in next year's draft, especially for Buffalo
really
people,
won't be able to watch them.
Yeah, because the Combine will be here next year. Yeah. The NHL Draft will be here next year. It would be fun to watch Austin Matthews play in North America instead of going to Switzerland to play over there, because we'll get to see more of Austin Matthews, whereas in Switzerland we'll probably see him, sometime in the early morning, early afternoon, sometime around there?
Yeah, you get
like the
weekly clips on TSN and the NHL Network.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah,
so limited.
Yeah, because the top three prospects next year's draft are Matthews. You got Jesse Puljujarvi, who showed that he's a potential top 3 pick in next year's draft with Finland at the World Junior Championships this past year. And then number 3 is Jacob Chychrun from Sarnia in the OHL, who is compared to as the next Aaron Ekblad in the OHL. And we all know how Aaron Ekblad played this year in the NHL with Florida. He played phenomenal. Yeah. So Now, by the way, 91. Oh, sorry, Lars. Go ahead. Okay, 91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. Brought to you by the Buffalo State Student Activity Fee. Lars, go ahead and what your point was going to be.
Well, I mean, the reason why Ekblad had such a good year, he turned it up really late because it was him, Huberdeau, and Yager together on a line. Whew, man, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more exciting line than what Florida has for those last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have Austin Matthews stay in North America, whether he's playing in Everett, because the Western Hockey League, of the 3 junior hockey leagues in Canada, the Western Hockey League is the more ground and pound style of league. It's the less scoring, but there's more physicality. I think that league would benefit a player like Austin Matthews because he'll probably be a top scorer in that league. He might score a ton of points. He might amass a ton of points in that league because there's just not a lot of scoring compared to the Q or compared to the Ontario Hockey League where scoring runs rampant. So if Matthews even goes to the Western Hockey League and plays with Everett, he'll be their star player. He'll probably be the star player and star rookie of that league. And besides that, I mean, heck, he might even be a candidate for the Hobie Baker along with, a few other players. I mean, even Noah Hannafin could, if he goes to Denver, he might have a chance to win the Hobie Baker as a freshman and be the third one to do it and the second one in consecutive years, which I think it would be fun. I think it would be great for college hockey, too.
Yeah. Yes, and college hockey is something that people should pay attention to more.
The only benefit that Matthews is going to get to playing in Switzerland is just playing against some professionals, some ex-NHLers that have gone to Switzerland to play, and also he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
But that's about it. But, I mean, I heard that the pay that he might get if he's playing over there is about $500,000 for the season.
Which still isn't that bad.
Not bad.
Not
no.
bad for
getting paid
17-year-old. If he was only born one day earlier, he would have been eligible for the 2015 NHL draft. And just imagine.
Way to go,
Lars, just imagine this. If Austin Matthews would have been in the same draft.
Mom, I touched the net.
Just imagine if he was in the same draft with Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. He honestly probably would go number 3 ahead of Noah Hannafin.
He would go to Arizona right away.
And he's a native of Arizona.
Yeah.
They would have been fine.
They would have been amazing with that.
As much as I would love to have seen that happen, the 2016 draft in Buffalo would be rather lackluster because, geez, you get a guy of that kind of talent. Wouldn't you want a guy with that kind of star power in Buffalo when he gets drafted? I mean, it doesn't really matter where he would get drafted, but just saying, if that happened this year, next year's draft wouldn't be as exciting, and of course, that'd be very Buffalo-like. And
I find that
you know where I'm
hard to
going with
believe.
that. But you're right. You bring up a really good point regarding the WHL. I think that would be a great fit for him because I watch a lot of the WHL myself. I watch it a lot more than the O because, one, being in the West Coast, I can look at these teams a little better than I did when I was in Buffalo. And my favorite junior team is the Calgary Hitmen out there, so I do watch quite a bit of their games. But you are right. It is a very rough and tumble style, and I think with him, he would flourish if he played for Everett.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, because Everett, they did have what was his name? They did have the rights to Leon Draisaitl, or was it Leon Draisaitl? I can't remember. I think it was Leon Draisaitl because they traded him then to Kelowna because they had too many imports on the team.
Can we also bring up the fact that the WHL names are a heck of a lot cooler than the OHL?
Yes.
Yes.
One player.
Brandon Wheat Kings.
Yeah.
That is an amazing name. These
Silver Tips.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Brandon Wheat Kings. Oh, my God. That is the O. Oh, jeez. I think of the Edmonton Oil.
That's
your W.
Yeah. No, you had the right W, and then the Oil Kings of the Edmonton Oil Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's some great names in the Western Hockey League. One player that is a Montreal Canadiens draft pick that is in Everett right now is Nikita Sherbak. So if Austin Matthews were to play He would actually be the
potentially play with
second. He would actually be the second line right winger, right behind Sherbach, because Matthews plays right wing. He can play some center, so I mean, if they want to try and insert him at center, but I think Matthews' natural position is right winger, so he would probably be right behind Nikita Sherbach. But yeah, I mean, Lars hit it right on. Is that the Western Hockey League would probably be a very good option as well for a guy like Austin Matthews. But we know that Pujärvi is going to be playing in Finland. We know that Chychrun is going to be playing with Sarnia. Here's another name that is up for discussion with next year's draft. Matthew Tkachuk, son of Keith Tkachuk.
I was going to ask about that, actually.
He's playing with the London Knights next year, and he will probably be replacing Max Domi on the top line with Mitch Marner. Because I don't think Mitch Marner is going to go to the NHL right away.
No, I don't think so either. I think that wherever Marner gets drafted, he's going to play his 9 games, and then he's going to get sent back down.
I don't even know if he's going to play the 9 games. He's just so undersized. He's a goal scorer. Don't get me wrong. He's a pure goal scorer. He can set up plays. He does everything great offensively. It's just he needs to bulk up. He's 5'9", maybe 5'10", but I mean he's only like 160 pounds, 170 at best.
Still a kid.
Yeah.
So what? Johnny Gaudreau's 130-something when he's scoring goals.
Yeah, but I mean he played college hockey with Boston College. That was a huge advantage for him.
It's amazing. A guy that small can go out there and he's playing against a bunch of giants, and he's got such a great shot.
Pretty much twice his size.
This will not be the last time you'll hear Johnny Gaudreau.
No, I actually think Johnny Gaudreau is going to win the Calder Trophy as the Rookie of the Year. It's between him and Ekblad. I mean, yeah, Mark Stone had a great end of the season to help carry Ottawa to the playoffs, but without a doubt, Gaudreau and Ekblad were the better of the two rookies, and I think that Gaudreau had a much more consistent year. And I think that he was the sole reason that Calgary got into the playoffs. Him and Monahan on a line together were fantastic. Everybody else was
Yuri Hudler.
Yuri Hudler as well. And I mean, that's a perfect blend of young, very good talent mixed with veteran presence that helps grow that talent, that young talent, into professionals. And I think that this year's top line for Calgary was phenomenal, and I think that next year, I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, well, it probably was a fluky year for Calgary because nobody else was really that good. I disagree. I think Calgary next year, once they get healthy with Mark Giordano back and maybe even add another asset, if Sam Bennett can become that player that they drafted him for.
And you like to think that he can, because if you watched him in the playoffs, he did play very well.
Very well.
He played very well in the postseason, so he was pretty impressive.
I'm still trying to figure out how Gaudreau found that angle on Anderson.
With
that shot in Game 4.
Yeah.
The one that tied the game.
My brain trying to figure out how he found that.
Yeah.
Being 5-on-3 there helped a lot too. Or 6-on-4.
He did have a bit of a free roll, but that was not a great angle he shot that.
Right.
Oh no, it was from the side of the face-off circle, even down lower towards the corner more, and he just roofed it. It was unbelievable.
I was watching that at Anaheim Ice, the official practice facility of the Ducks. I was in there, and I was watching it on TV. There's a bunch of Ducks fans in there, and of course there's like 5 or 6 Kings fans in there just trying to be trolled. However, when I saw Gaudreau make that shot, you could hear a pin drop in there. And I was the only guy that said something. And I said, oh, and a word I can't say on air.
Oh.
Because that was an amazing shot. God, man, I love to see that kid play. I know everyone doesn't like him just because he's got the name Johnny.
Johnny's a sweet name.
It's Johnny Manziel's fault.
Johnny Hockey.
It's Johnny Manziel's fault, yeah. Yeah, Johnny Hockey.
Yeah, he doesn't even play hockey, and it's his fault.
Ended 2, Erie up 2-0 still.
Okay.
That is true. While we still have you on, Lars, I want to get your thoughts on some players that are up for free agency, whether it's unrestricted free agency or free agency that the Ducks have in particular. We mentioned Matt Bolesky, who is going to be an unrestricted free agent. Do you see the Ducks re-signing him, or is that going to be too much of a cap hit for what he's going to probably demand?
Well, that's the $6 million question in literal and figurative terms of what Bolesky's going to ask for, because the Ducks have quite a bit of cap room. However, if you can, could you give me some of the free agents to be this year that you would think that Anaheim would be gunning for? And then I'll use the comparisons between them and Bolesky and see what kind of prices those two would fetch. And I'll make the decision whether if they would either keep Bolesky or go with that sort of player.
What about a free agent like Francois Beauchemin? Do you think that I think Beauchemin is 33, 34. Do you think that the Ducks re-sign him?
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, unless he's going to take a pay cut for his contract, he's solid, but at the same time, I still think he's expendable. I think there could be an upgrade in that position. And don't get me wrong, Beauchemin's been, like I said, solid for a few years. But if he's going to ask for like 4.5 to 5, if I'm Anaheim, I'd be best if I moved on.
Last free agent I'm going to bring up is Jakob Silfverberg. He's a restricted free agent, and he didn't exactly have a good year. He hasn't been productive when he was acquired in I think it was the Bobby Ryan trade he was acquired in.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Do you think that they'll, offer him a contract, or, are they going to try and trade him in a deal maybe at the draft? What are your thoughts?
If I'm Anaheim, I'd keep him. I'd keep him on the sheer fact that you look at his natural talent, you look at I think he's played better than what people are giving him for. As I've watched him the last couple of months, Silfverberg has the natural gift. He has an insane wrist shot. It's so good. I just think that he has too much talent for Anaheim to give up. And I don't think Silfverberg's going to cost a lot of money. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to, bust down the door just to get Jakob Silfverberg, which I think will play in Anaheim's favor because the talent is there. He's got the skill. He's got the shot, and I think he's an underrated skater too. If I'm Anaheim, if he can come in about 2.5 to 3 years, and if he wants like a 3 or 4 year contract, he's still very young. Take it. I like Silfverberg, and I hope that they do re-sign him because there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I'd say something like a 2-year bridge deal kind of thing. I could easily see that in Silfverberg's future, and he's been at a point-per-game clip in the postseason so far, so he might be earning a little bit more in a contract.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dicey situation because we couldn't really gauge him last year because he got hurt. This year we've had more or less a full season, and I still think that he's got enough talent that he could get that contract, and as long as they work with him, he'll be a 20 to 25 goal scorer that'll have some goals that'll make you really spin your head around.
Lars, one last quick thing before we let you go. We didn't ask you who you have as your Stanley Cup winner. If you were to pick now, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the decision I made back at the start of the playoffs. I still have Anaheim and the Rangers in the final. However, I do think that Tampa has a legitimate shot. They're very strong, and as long as Bishop played the way he did late in the series in the first round that Tampa had, they should have no problem getting to the final. But I'm still sticking to my guns. I still think the Rangers are the best team, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I say over Anaheim in 6 games.
All right, well, Lars, just so you know, you're always welcome to join in on the show. We really appreciate you calling in, and thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it, guys. It was a great honor to come on here. And one last thing, you guys really know your stuff.
Thank
you.
you.
You know a lot more than I do.
Hey,
all right,
feel free when you come back. Jump on.
Yeah, when you're back in Buffalo, we'll probably be on the air. So if you want to join us live in studio, feel free.
Oh, goody. I would love that.
All right. Sounds good, Lars. Thank you once again, and
Lars.
Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. All the best.
All right. That was Lars Lewis, a WBNY favorite here. Really, I mean, he's been.
I've heard nothing but legends.
Oh man, Lars
legend.
Lewis is definitely a legend here at WBNY. And I mean, I've been part of BNY for this past year, only this past year, but I know the name Lars Lewis.
Yeah.
Like it's,
I know it, and I've been
right
here
off
for
the top of my head.
3 months,
Yes,
4 months?
Exactly. Oh yeah. So, Again, and really, if you want to call in, anybody at any time, anybody in Buffalo, anybody who's listening to our show on the TuneIn app, anybody who's listening at 91.3 FM on your radio dial, 878-5104 with the 716 area code. That is our number. If you want to ever reach us, ever want to give us a call, we will take calls. Even though we only have like one line that we can really have people call in, but still, we'll take your calls if it's open and please, we always take calls. 716-878-5104. Yes, callers are fun as always. Chris, was there anything else on our list that we had that we didn't touch base on?
We kind of touched on everything.
What about what's going on with the reverse sweep? The Rangers might be pulling off.
Oh
no, that was 3-1.
It was 3-1. However,
3-1.
Montreal might pull off
a
the reverse sweep.
I mean,
I don't see it.
I don't see it happening neither. I think that they'll go to Game 6 in Tampa Bay, and I think Tampa Bay is just gonna.
I'm with you.
Oh yeah.
What about the 3-1 Kings of being down?
I mean, it's almost a no surprise because the Rangers did it last year against Pittsburgh. And then,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but right after the Rangers won game, what was it?
6.
Game 5.
Game 5?
Oh, yeah, you were telling me
I knew
this.
the Rangers were going to win in 7.
Well, there's something there. Alex Ovechkin is pulling a Mark Messier, and he said he's guaranteeing a Game 7 victory in New York. They play what, tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. Montreal's Montreal and Tampa Bay's tomorrow.
Montreal's tomorrow.
Whoever did the scheduling for the NHL, shame on you.
Yeah,
shame on you.
How do we do a neutral ice without our game of the
Because
night?
the fact is that how can you have a Game 5 on the same
They played
night as a
back-to-back
Game 6?
nights. Tampa Montreal played back-to-back nights, which is absurd.
I'm sorry. I'm fine with just every other night. Like one game, you take a night off, then you play the next game. Take another night off, play the next game. The players are built to do that.
No.
Tampa Montreal Game 7 will be Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm saying they played.
If they
they
did
already
play-
did. No. They already did play back-to-back nights.
And they might play. They play tomorrow
That's
night,
like Games 3 and 4.
and then the Rangers and Caps play Game 7 Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they put the Rangers Caps?
But again,
No, the only thing about it maybe there was another
Game 6 was
event
yesterday.
scheduled at either of the arenas. That's the only thing I can think about.
I find that hard to believe.
I mean, you can
I
find
think
that
it
hard
might
to
have
believe,
also
but
been
I don't.
based on the other series, but those, Chicago split Minnesota and Anaheim 1 and 5, and Game 5 was last night.
Can I also say something real quick about this postseason? so
Yeah,
far?
yeah.
I'm so sick of watching Chicago win.
Why? Why?
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
don't
great
understand
that
that.
One, because they knocked out my team in our bracket.
Oh,
challenge.
well, of course, yeah. I had Minnesota winning, but I mean, after the first series with goaltending, they looked like, oh my God, this team might not get out of the first round. Then they played Minnesota, and I mean, I do have to say,
Crawford's back.
Devin Dubnyk in the series against Chicago looked tired. He looked like he was out of gas. I mean, he was making plays that he wasn't doing in the regular season or in the first round against St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times where Chicago was throwing it at the net when players are streaking heading towards the back of the net. They were just throwing it on net, and Dubnyk was going over way too early, and it would bank off him and in the net. It happened once or twice in the St. Louis series, and it happened multiple times against Chicago, where Dubnyk was just anticipating the play a little too early, and then it either banked off of him or he got lucky where it hit the side of the net or went wide. But the fact is that, man, Devin Dubnyk, I think they played him way, way too much at the end of the season. And I mean,
fatigue
probably
factor finally kicked in.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact of the matter is that everybody was saying, well, it might not be a bad idea that he's playing all these games, but eventually it takes a toll, especially for a goaltender like Devin Dubnyk, who hasn't had experience of playing this long in an NHL season.
Not to mention, I mean, another could argue that Dubnyk played those many games because they needed to keep chasing a wild card spot.
They didn't have another goaltender that can help them out. Darcy Kemper was, he had an early start, really good early start, but then he just completely fell off. Nicholas Backstrom has been nothing since he re-signed his new contract.
Yep.
When the Wild re-signed Nick Backstrom to that 3-year deal worth $3.4162585, whatever it was, million.
Yes.
He was 34, 35 at the time, and they signed him that deal. I'm thinking, wow, that is just a horrible deal because he's not a good goaltender. And really, it's showing right now that Minnesota's kind of kicking themselves in the rear end because that really did not pan out. He did not look good. And yeah, Minnesota they just looked like they couldn't keep up with Chicago. Chicago had them on their heels most of the series. Dubnyk looked tired. A lot of the other guys looked tired. But, I mean, they made a huge push to get back into the playoffs. I mean, in January when they were, 13 points out or some crazy stat like that, and they climbed back to be the top wild card team. That's just amazing in itself.
Yeah.
So the Wild did have a great season. It's unfortunate that they couldn't have gone any further, but, you can only ride your hot players ever so often before they start getting tired out themselves. And Devin Dubnyk, they relied on him way too much heading down the stretch. I mean, he started, 34, 35 straight games?
Straight games.
Yeah.
And we're talking not getting a day off.
No.
But back to my minor rant. I'm just sick of seeing a team just being so dominant and really only seeing two teams coming out of the West every year. And since LA's out of the playoffs and Chicago's making another run for it, it's just like I want to see something else, and go Anaheim at that point for me.
Yeah, I think that whoever wins out of the West has to be the favorite to win the Cup. I mean, Anaheim, but then again, Anaheim has played two very easy teams. Chicago's their first real challenge. But the fact is that they probably
can beat Chicago.
Yeah, if they could beat Chicago, I mean, I think they'll have the most energy heading into the Cup Finals unless Chicago completely drains them, which I don't expect, because Anaheim's just they're physically tested, they're physically weathered, they can handle just about anything. They've got guys who can fly down the ice. Their speed, Cogliano's fast. I mean, they got other guys that are just very, very good skaters, very fast skaters. Getzlaf's physical, Perry's physical. I mean,
Kessler.
Yeah, Kessler, Bolesky. These guys are just phenomenal. And Anaheim, if they are able to beat Chicago, I think they're the clear-cut favorites to win the Stanley Cup final, the Stanley Cup completely. The only team, like Lars said before, the only team that may be able to challenge them and give them a little bit of a problem is if Tampa does it. Because the Rangers rely heavily on goaltending. They haven't gotten anything out of their main goal scorers like Derek Stepan or Rick Nash or anything like that. So
True.
The New York Rangers, I mean, who knows what will happen in this last game with them. Game 7 is tomorrow night between the Rangers and the Capitals. Wednesday night. Thank you. Tomorrow is Tampa Bay and Montreal, Game 6 in Tampa Bay. Again, whoever scheduled the NHL schedule, just completely beyond me. Why did you schedule it that way? But that's about it for Neutral Ice here. Wrapping it up now as we're going to have Jason coming on talking about movies. And for Derek Kramer, Frank Arcury, and Chris Kowalczyk, and also a special guest, Lars Lewis, thank you for tuning in. I am Brayton Wilson. This has been Neutral Ice. Be sure to tune in every Monday night at 8 p.m. as part of All Talk Monday for Neutral Ice right here on Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM, WBNY.